So so that's 4. So like fauces is the opening at the back of your mouth. Okay, then the hard palate is like Yolanda says is number 1, right? So the hard palate is toward the front.
Wouldn't that be soft palate and then hard palate's behind?
No, hard palate's at the front.
Soft palate's behind.
Would you put your tongue at the top of your mouth? That's the hard palate.
Feel it.
All the ridges.
Soft palate's behind there. And if you can put your tongue back there, that's pretty cool furniture.
Yeah, I can do that.
Can you get it back there?
Tension.
Makes me gag, sorry. Okay, and you guys know the uvula. The uvula is what the thingy-bobber that hangs down. The fauces, that's like the only new thing on here. Palatine tonsils are number 5. Okay, and then the tongue. And that tongue is, I guess, reflected, right, because it's up. Okay, now the frenula, there's more than one, but the frenula are those things, like you can feel them on your lips. You have lingual frenula, and then, or that's the one under your tongue, and then you have some that are up at your lips. What are the ones up there called? They have a different name. Can't remember.
That's always just been the frenula.
Okay. But you know what they are, right? And then the one that
maxillary.
Yeah.
That's what I would think.
Yeah, maybe.
Mandibular. I don't know.
But sometimes when they say a baby's tongue tied or something,
That's the inside. That's
that's the one under the tongue. It's too long and they'll clip it. Does that make sense? And like, if people have that gap, like David Letterman or whoever has that gap between his teeth, that top one is too, and so they can clip it and it'll go back together. Okay, so that's that.
Crenectomy.
Yeah, right. My husband does too. He didn't want it changed. Okay, now I feel like we've done this one, but let's go through it again. So the side view, 1, 3, 13. So, oh dear. Okay, so let's start at the front of the mouth again. So 8 is the hard palate, right? 9 is the cavity, is the oral cavity, right? Or the buccal cavity, as they're also called. Okay, 10 is the tongue. 2 is the soft palate. What's 3? Uvula. And then the tonsils hanging off the uvula is what they have. Okay, and then 4 is going to be the fauces. Yeah. Okay, 1, what are they trying to get you to say?
Nasopharynx.
Oh, okay, the nasopharynx, because it's coming in your nose. Okay, and then 5 is the oropharynx, right? And then 6 is what? The Ringo Starr. And then 7 is the esophagus. You all right? All right, so we've done that one before. Okay, now the stomach. Okay, so I do have stomachs on the cart. A couple of them. So there's the stomach. And there's the stomach. Okay, and then there's stomachs on the bottom. Yeah.
I'm telling you, did you watch it?
What is it?
Oprah's anatomy class.
Remember when Oprah did
Gave
you
away
get
a
a card?
card.
You get a card.
Oh.
I don't think anybody will ever
There's an
forget that.
I'm
You
like,
watch the thing cook, I'm like, you gonna hop back with me.
No, I didn't see that.
I feel like we've had this conversation before.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think we have it all the time. Yeah. Okay, so when you look at your stomach, okay, what you're going to see is this whole big region here, the whole thing, that's the body. Okay, so the body is the whole big thing.
I think probably 4 is.
Yeah, that's... No, 4 is the fundus.
2 is the body.
2 is the body. 4 is the fundus. Okay, so the fundus is the raised part. And like when you're pregnant, they measure the fundus of your uterus. So the fundus is that raised part. So that's the fundus. It's 4.
Push into your
Yeah.
there and put the tape.
Yeah, and see, because then the centimeters should match up with your weeks along, right? Okay, then 3 is going to be the esophagus, right? So the esophagus comes in. Where it enters the stomach is called the cardia. Okay, so the cardia region. Okay, so that's, 1. 4 is the fundus, so that's the raised part. 2 is going to be the whole body, so that's the rest of this. Okay, now when you get down further on here, the folds are called rugae. So 5 is the folds. So the wrinkles in here are the rugae, and we have them in our bladder too. Okay, so the idea behind them is as they stretch, right, they're going to expand and allow you to hold more food in there.
So what did they say in the root is?
5. That's what I'm going with.
That's right.
Okay, because it says folds. Okay, then 6 is going to be on the way out. So that's the pylorus. So the pylorus is on the way out of the stomach. And then the pyloric sphincter is going to be the ridge. Is going to be the ridges, or the not the ridges, the muscle before you go out. So if you look at this, okay, here's the pyloric sphincter is right here. And that's going to control the food leaving the stomach and going to the small intestines. Okay, now the stomach actually has 3 muscle layers. Okay, so you chew up the food with your teeth, and you break it up as much as you can. Then you swallow it, and it's going to go down the esophagus. It's got to enter that cardiac region. But there's a sphincter there, and that sphincter is controlling whether the food's going back up the esophagus. So when that sphincter gets weakened, that's when you start to get acid reflux. Okay, and things come up. The acidic contents of the stomach come back up to the esophagus. Okay, so the stomach then has three muscle layers. So it's got a circular layer is this one. It's going around like this, circular, like a band. There's one that's longitudinal. Okay, so it's going long ways, and then there's one going obliquely. Okay, so the whole point of it, it's going to mix up your food more and more and more. Okay, and try to chop it up as much as it can. Does that make sense? Okay. And then the pyloric sphincter is going to let it into your small intestines like a little bit, like a shot glass size at a time, so that your small intestines has time to digest it and break it all down. Okay, but I know. So did you have like a whole class just on?
I had 5 classes on just on digestive system.
Oh, so
And how like acids come together and what it breaks down.
cool. And like all the animals are different, right?
Yeah. So like you had small ruminants and then large ruminants, and then I had a horse class. I had 2 large ruminants because I was really into cows.
Oh, cool.
So I spent a semester with cannulated cows digging.
Yeah, going in the.
Yeah. And then I worked in a nutrition lab, so we cultured them out. So
Cool,
we
you
gave them
could
different feeds to see what the test said, and then we did test studies on 25 cows.
Cool. So you had 25 cows with the horse.
Well, dairy cows, they had a whole slew of them, yeah. And then, but then we had beef cows at the barn, but that's what you fed out to see if it correlated with the biological continuous cultures.
Oh, cool.
That you had to feed every 4 hours. It was terrible.
Wow.
Because you had to be there all night, and it was in the basement of the ag school. It was so creepy. Like, I thought I was definitely going to a horror school.
Yeah, we had our greenhouses in one of those, and they had those big stainless steel doors, like a meat locker kind of
Yeah.
thing. And you
Oh,
get
it
in
was
there.
in the back of the old dairy parlor.
Yeah.
That tells you anything.
Yeah, that's what ours
It
was
at the bottom
creepy.
of the store.
You go down there and like,
Hear things creak
and you didn't want anybody to like. I always carried the lock for the broom in my pocket so that I never left it outside because I just thought somebody's gonna lock me in there.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so that's the idea. Okay, now small intestines have 3 regions, and the 3 regions are duodenum. Okay, and that's like the first 12 inches, then the jejunum, and then the ileum. Okay, and it's hard to see on the bottle. Like, it would be hard for me to put a sticker on it to say what's what. Okay, but the duodenum is going to be the first part. I just always remember DJI, like do it yourself, but it's a J instead. Okay, so it's duodenum, jejunum, and the ileum. And the ileum's what's going to join up with the large intestines. So if she had an ileostomy, that's so they might have taken out her whole colon because the ileum is the last part of the small intestines. So she has a hole where the ileum comes out.
Right here.
Yep. And then she has, yep,
She has an ileostomy.
Yep.
She will have it the rest of her life.
So she has colonoscopy now?
It's an ileostomy bag. And the only reason why I say that is because I always called it colostomy, and she's like, it's not a colostomy, it's an ileostomy.
But you know what? I've had, so they did take out the whole thing then.
I reckon.
Yep. But I have had students that had the ileostomy who they have new surgery now, and she actually had a
Isn't that really
rectal
common in Crohn's disease too?
Yeah, Crohn's disease, really bad colitis.
She had ulcerative colitis for years.
Yeah,
It was bad.
so-
I mean, it got to the point where she was on
Yeah, it's
infusions. I can't remember the name of it, but it just she had really bad arthritis when she couldn't move her hands. Her body was so
it's an auto
infected.
yeah, it's an autoimmune disease. Okay, so the colon. Okay, so what's going to happen is we're going to have an ascending colon, we have transverse, and then we have descending. Okay, so it's real straightforward: ascending, transverse, and then descending. Does that make sense? Okay, now this is going to show you the cecum, bless you, the cecum and the appendix. Okay, so for him, you can see here's the ileum, here's the cecum. Okay, so that's like where they pair up. So here's like the blind pouch right here.
Are we going over these?
Yeah, what page are you on?
16.
Yeah, let's do that. All right, so 5 is going to be the stomach. Did you already get that one?
Yes.
Okay,
What
then.
is the duodenum?
Yeah, so it depends on where you grew up. Duodenum or duodenum, either one is actually correct. So 1 is the duodenum or the duodenum. Okay, 2 is going to be the ascending colon. Okay, 3 is
Jejunum.
jejunum. Okay, then 4, where's 4?
Ileum.
Ileum. 5 we already did. 6 is the transverse colon. 7 is the descending colon. And then 8 is the rectum. Okay, now, in the large intestines, okay, so the small intestines is where the digestion of all your food takes place. Okay, the majority of your digestion of food and the absorption of food. So it's going to be how you get the food from chemical form that you ingest, like big molecules, polymers, into monomers. That can actually go across the cells and get absorbed into the bloodstream. Okay, so remember when we learned carbohydrates, lipids, proteins. Okay, so now we got to remember going backwards, what are the monomers? So carbohydrates are going to go down to like simple sugars, and then lipids are going to go to fats and fatty acids and glycerol. And then what are proteins made? Or no, what are carbohydrates being broken down into? I already said that one though. Simple sugars, right? What are proteins broken down to? Amino acids, and the amino acids are going to go across. Okay, so that's all going to happen in the small intestines. Okay, what's left over goes into the large intestines, and that's where the feces are made. So it's really the waste. We do some more water reabsorption there. Okay, now, if you look, number 9 is supposed to be these, ascending colon. 15 is transverse colon. Why did they go into that much detail for this, but they didn't go in? Oh, well, whatever. And then 16 is the descending colon, right? Yeah. Because they don't have the bends named on here. Because there's names for the bends.
Well, they have one then.
Do they? What are
17. Oh, okay, well,
18? I'm having a moment.
I'm looking.
I know. Are you looking at the answers? Is that supposed to be the sigmoid colon?
All right, so wait a minute. So,
I think so.
wait, where are we at here?
So 10 is supposed to be the ileum.
Yeah, starting at 9, it says ascending colon. 10 is the ileum.
11 is the ileocecal sphincter. Okay, so that's going to control the food coming from the small intestines to the large intestines. So 11 is the ileocecal sphincter. 12 is the cecum. What's 13? That little thing hanging off of there.
Appendix.
That's the appendix. So that's that little thing hanging off of there. Okay, 14 is the rectum.
Yes.
So 18, I think, is supposed to be the sigmoid colon.
That's correct.
Okay, but all right. It kind of makes an S shape, is why they call it that. It's the last stop on the way out. Okay, so sigmoid colon is that. Okay, now, the pouches on here, those pouches are called haustra. So each one is a haustrum. And those are what those little pouches are. And then what happens is there's a band of muscle that goes across of it, and it kind of makes it like, you know when you put like up a valance or something, or you do smocking and you put a whole bunch of fabric on and then you tighten it, and that's kind of what happens in your large intestine. So it makes these pockets, these little pouches. And this would be like the curtain rod. Does that kind of make sense? Okay, so that's what the haustra are.
15 is transverse.
No,
colon.
17
17.
is haustra.
16 or 15 is transverse.
Transverse. Okay, so you go. So if you look at this one, okay, so you go ascending colon, transverse colon, and then descending colon. Okay, what's that? What's that? Nope. Spleen. That's spleen. That's the spleen. Here's pancreas. There's pancreas. These are new. Okay, there's the stomach, right? Here, what's the valve controlling whether things are going from the stomach to the small intestines? Pyloric sphincter. Okay, then what's this?
Liver.
What's this?
Gallbladder.
Gallbladder. Okay, now if I can take this off. Oh, what's this?
Esophagus.
Okay.
This comes off, but that's it. I think I can't see anything else coming away.
Okay. Well, that's a bummer. All right, well, then I can ask you this. Okay, what's this part right here? It's controlling whether the food goes from the small intestines to the large intestines. Another sphincter, but what's it called?
Ileocecal.
Ileocecal sphincter. So then, what's that part right there?
Cecum.
Cecum. And then what's that thing hanging down?
Appendix.
Appendix. Okay, here's your rectum. You're going to have two sphincters in here, just like you had at the bladder, the mouth. Yeah.
Some people's mouths are sphincters.
Yeah.
I just wonder what this appendix is all about, because it's just like hanging there. It's like, what?
It's a vestigial organ. If they don't, go ahead, tell her what you know.
Oh, go ahead. I don't really know a whole lot about it.
Okay, I don't probably know that much either. Okay,
They
so
say it's just supposed to be there, like kind of as a.
it's like an immune. It has
Yeah,
bacteria in
has,
it.
It has bacteria and immune system, but they can't really see where it benefits nor.
Hurts anything
Hurts
until it
anything.
gets affected. So it's one of those organs that in maybe 1,000 years, if the human race is still around, it'll be gone because it doesn't have a real purpose. So it's one of those things that
I always heard that it was because like back when we used to be like little scavengers, it helped with like breaking down like because we ate wild animals that it was like something to do with the bacteria that it like helped speed up whatever bad stuff was in there, but like.
I mean,
And they
because God
do
put it
that
there for a
with
reason.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out what he was doing. What he was thinking.
But I think that's the most logical I can
Yeah.
ever think of.
But gradually, as we've changed over time, we don't need it that much because
We have
everything.
healthier and safer
Yeah.
food sources.
Well, and we're not using it, which would be the reason why it's clogged, which would be the reason why
Yeah.
there's issues.
And you got to get rid of it, right? Okay, so everybody okay with what's on page 316? Okay. Do you want to stop that and then start it again so we get like short little